It's Ancestral Observations, Demystification of Magical Powers, Part 1, with Misuzu Kamaishi, Earth, the Boundless Sea and Sky. These are two parts. So this show, the title is called The Earth, the Boundless Sky and Sea. That's what this show is called. And the other title is for a big project I'm working on. That's the flyer talks about it. But that's the show you saw here. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about the geographical information. This map I drew, this is Japan and California, both coast. But this is only the Tohoku part. Tohoku means east-north. So northeastern part, which is very tiny, but it's right here. If you see the whole map of Japan, it's up north. And California is California. You get the whole California. But so I moved back to Japan in 2012. I lived in South, like this rural place, the island. If you're familiar with Japan, the island in South is called Kyushu. That's where I was living at the time when that thing happened up north. And I didn't feel anything. It was like just living in California. I was watching TV with my parents and just saw something crazy happen up north. That time I didn't realize how badly the disaster was or will become. But so that's March 11th, 2011. I moved back on January 1st, so it's just kind of a little over 2 months. After I lived in United States for almost 10 years, I finally moved back and this thing happened. I thought I meant to be there for some reason. And these are little images, but you can see in those photos. That's what I was seeing on TV. Although living in the same country, my home country, I just felt like I wanted to do something for them. Hopefully I want to move there and help people out. But in a situation like that, people's needs are more like medical and some physical, like all the debris has to be cleared out, which I couldn't do anything with that. First, Otsuchi is the town you see these pictures are taken. It's north, it's kind of middle of Tohoku, I guess. And that town, over 60% of the town was taken by tsunami. The earthquake damage wasn't too bad, but mostly the tsunami took all the buildings and lives and etc. And I ended up moving to this town in 2012. And this is Misuzu. She is 17 now, but when I met her, she was 14. And this particular framed pictures, these were taken from her parents' house, which got a little water and came into the house but survived. But she started taking photos from her house every month, mostly on 11th, that's the day that March 11th that happens. So she was taking those pictures with other parts of the town. You see all the damaged and photos. So this is how kind of far I put my hometown Fukuoka is south. And Otsuchi is here and Fukuoka is here. And it's about, I think my hometown is a parallel to almost Oakland. And this Otsuji, we are sister cities.
Yes.
And Otsuji is almost parallel to Fort Bragg, and they're sister cities. So that's how far where I was at and she was at when that earthquake and tsunami happened. So when she was taking all these disastrous images of her hometown and experiencing all the devastation, I was living in South and thinking I want to help, but felt very powerless, like I cannot do anything. I just kind of Google every day and looking for opportunity to do something, but only thing I could do immediately after that was putting a little money into donation box or something like that. So I started this project, kind of called Sky Project. Instead of just looking at the computer, I thought I will take a photo of the sky every day to have a moment every day to remember what happened, and hopefully in the future I will have the opportunity or find the opportunity to move there and help people. So these are just one part of a lot of photos of the skies I took. So I moved to the town in 2012. And Misuzu told me later she was taking her photos also for herself, felt that she was kind of forgetting what exactly happened. All the whole thing was there, but like getting cleaned out and everything became more normal. And so her intention of taking those pictures was the same kind of intention I had at the time. So anyway, so I started in April and ended the end of. If you see this whole thing, you see Trans-America whole thing, and some photos actually taken in Monterey, Big Sur, because I was visiting here. I finally found the opportunity there. There was an after-school program, non-profit organization in Tokyo, started in two towns, which are kind of similar, big damage from the tsunami and took a lot of lives and buildings. So I chose to move on to G, and I was there from January 2012 till September, about 9 months. And when I first met Misuzu, she couldn't go to her classroom, so she was taking her class outside of the class by herself. After I worked with her a little bit, she started opening up herself up to me and said, I've been taking these photos and I love taking photographs. And because I had a background in fine art, although I wasn't a photographer, I said, why just don't you keep taking and express yourself through the media you love working? And she just kept going and she's still doing that. So that's her and our meeting in 2012. It's inspiring. I was a teacher in Otsuchi, and I definitely was inspired by her work to do this whole show. So teaching is learning. So that meeting brought to this exhibition that the time that we were separated, she was taking all these photos, and I was taking all the sky photos. And actually, images of the sky photos became these seawater paintings, I call. These are watercolor paintings on Japanese paper and pasted silver leaf. And watercolor pigment is mixed with seawater from Monterey Bay and with a little bit of blue. So if you look at it, you see a little silver, and you might see a little salt crystal in there. And the other one, this installation I put, but you can see in the back, that's, I call them wave paintings. These are the paintings also made with Japanese paper and watercolor, but the way I made is put the pigment, watercolor pigment out of tube on top, directly on top of the paper, as they're called wave paintings. I took the paper with pigment to the beach and laid that on the beach and wait for a wave to wash it and just dry it. That's how it's made.
This is the hanging installation.
So you hear the waves, wind.
That's so organic.
Yeah, thinking about like how horrible the waves to come at the time, but now I'm making these paintings with the same waves that are same but different. And someone asked me or wonder why the top part doesn't have a whole lot of pigment, because when you take it back to wherever my towel is, it's all like water going down. That's where happened. All the gravity and water dropping made all the patterns there. This piece was made by my students. In Japan, we call the red string and pinky and pinky. That's like a man destined to meet. And so when I first met her, she was having even difficulty talking to her own classmates. But after this whole disaster happened, and through her photos, she had shown her photos in Tokyo and gave a little artist talk. And when we had the opening here, I Skyped her, and she was here through Skype and meeting people. And so she was kind of expressing that her meaning and connection to the different parts of the world and people through this whole experience, and showing that with red strings and her fingers, both sides. I think that's the story.